Hi there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lyndon Hosking, and this is our weekly show. This is where we catch up on all the latest news from around Australia and the world. I'm joined tonight by Tazzy Brown. We're minus Peter Maniatis tonight, mate. How are you? Just the two of us.
I'm good, thanks, mate. But my old sparring partner, me quiz partner in crime, Peter's not here, mate. But I'm sure that I'll try and do his part as well.
I'm sure you'll be fine, mate. We've got a lot to get through. So I would actually like Pete here, obviously, to cover the Tim Tszyu card, of course, the other night. He was up there with Joel Camilleri. But we'll just go through the Aussie news in a second there. But it was, quite a week, wasn't it? And we've got a lot more coming up as well.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, there's there's Aussies fighting abroad. There's big shows in Australia. There's double headers, buddy. There's triple headers. There's a bit going on, mate. Which is it's good to see. It's good to see boxing's in a good place in Australia.
Yeah, no, it is, and we'll jump straight into the Aussie news because obviously there was a massive show on Wednesday the 17th, and that was, of course, the one and only Tim Tszyu has just become a bit of a juggernaut, isn't he? I'm sure you watch the fight live like many other people around Australia, but this guy's just going from one strength to another, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a breath of fresh air for Australian boxing. Come at the right time. I mean, the era of Anthony Mundine and Danny Green and guys like that. Then obviously Jeff Horn had his stint. Now we needed a face of boxing. We needed a guy that could pack venues, pack stadiums, sell main event pay-per-views, and he's doing it. I mean, he's writing his own path. Like he's not Costa Tszyu's son anymore. He's his own man. And he's improving every fight. I speak to him often, mate. He just wants to fight all the time. He just, as we always say, Lyndon, like people don't understand how much inactivity kills a fighter. So when you're actually regularly fighting like Tim Tszyu, like Canelo, you're always fit, you're always ready, you're always sharp. And if you have a year off or a year and a half between fights, so he's fighting all the time. He wants to fight the best. You can't just fight anyone you want, because it's not the way it works in boxing. But he wants only the best challenges, and he would have been in America a year ago. COVID hit. So you can only do what you can do, and I get a bit annoyed with a lot of the social media idiots that still try and pick things with him. I mean, he's just fighting whoever they put in front of him. He's beating them hands down. The other night, I texted Glenn Jennings before. I said, best thing that ever happened to him. He said, mate, agreed, couldn't pay for it. The 12 rounds is only going to help him. When you're talking about fighting Charlo, Castagna, Harrison, all these guys, maybe Jamie Malanga later on. I mean, the 12 rounds against a seasoned fighter, knocking people out doesn't do nothing for you. It really doesn't.
Yeah. No, you're right, mate. And the good thing about Tim, since the pandemic's been in place, nearly 18 months now, he's fought, I think so, he's fought Jeff Horn, he's fought Dennis Hogan, Stevie Spark, and now Inoue. Have I missed someone? I'm not sure I have.
He fought that Kiwi.
The Kiwi, Bowen Morgan. Of course he did, yeah. So to have all those fights in that period of time, when you've got fighters in his division that have barely fought once, maybe twice in that same time, I think it's going to really hold him in good stead. And I've actually got a little bit further on this in my talking point a little bit later about Tim. But I don't know about you, mate. Like, he reminds me at the moment, and maybe it's the penny's just dropped and I'm not sure whether he's been doing it all along, but he really reminds me of Triple G at the moment, the way he's fighting. I think one thing about Tim, he's always liked to take centre ring, and he's always liked to dictate the pace like Triple G does. But I've just found now, especially the other night, not only did he take centre ring and try and dictate the pace, but he was actually walking Inoue down, and that's obviously what Triple G does. And those uppercuts and the overhand rights and the infighting. I don't know about you, but just watching the other night, it was a Triple G type of performance, I thought.
Not a bad call. Look, I can see how you can see that, and I think he's probably a little bit harder to hit than Triple G.
Yeah.
probably a bit quicker, but look, he likes to fight with pressure. He likes to go forward, like his dad did as well. And look, it's going to be interesting to see when, obviously, there's going to be fighters that will probably try not to let that happen. So, but Tim can box as well. He's got that pedigree if he wanted to get on, but I mean, he likes to press the action. And the thing about Tim that a lot of guys don't know how strong he actually is. And I remember Billy Hussein telling me over a year ago or even longer, he come and sparred a few of his boys and they kept saying he's just so strong in the clinch and that. He's very unassuming. And even Jeff Fennick commented on how, the Jap was the bigger looking guy. Tim pushed him off with ease every time. Tim is a very, very strong. He's a very physical, strong guy, and he's only getting stronger and stronger. He really is very, very. It'd take a really extreme fighter to try and manhandle him because he's phenomenally strong.
Yeah, he is, and I think the other thing with him as well, watching his whole body language and his demeanour as well, it's almost like the pennies sort of dropped. I know he's always believed in himself, great fighters always do, but the pennies sort of dropped that I'm the man, you're only visiting my house sort of thing, and I'm going to push you back, I'm going to bully you, and you're just visiting, and I just think. As I said, I think that penny's really dropped now, where he's just taking mine. Hence, I said before about him fighting that Triple G type of fight, where we all know he can box. We know he's got great skills. He's very hard to hit, and I think Stevie Spark actually commented that he's right there, but you can't hit him. And he's just got that, like a lot of Russian fighters do. They've got great defensive techniques, but he's also got that. I'm not sure. I agree. I think I agree with Jeff Fennick when he said he doesn't think he's maybe got the power of Costa. But skill-wise and technique-wise, I think he's just as good as what Costa was.
Yeah, look, I mean, every time there's a comparison to his dad, I mean, look,
different fighters, aren't they? They are.
And I'm in the know as much as anyone, having known well. I mean, look, you've got to remember, Costa had 300 amateur fights in the Soviet Union. When it was at its peak, where to represent the Soviet Union, you had to beat Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan. You know the era I'm talking about. He had 300 amateur fights and was the best out of them all.
He was, yep.
Then he come and then he went through world title, like Juan Laporte, Hector Lopez, Livio Sabamo, got in his first 3 fights. I mean, so it's not really fair. I mean, Tim had 30 fights. Tim's really a novice still.
Yep.
He's just improving. Look, not many people do punch as hard as his father did. I mean, Costa's one of the hardest punchers. You talk about his dad. His dad's probably the greatest super lightweight of all time.
I agree.
The thing is, like Jeff Fennick did say, if Tim is half as good as his dad, then you talk about someone very special because Costa's in the Hall of Fame. So Tim's on his own journey. His skill level's as good as anyone's. And he makes up for the punching power with a lot of pressure. It goes to the body well. But look, I guess he's always going to get comparisons to his dad. That's just the way it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's right in his own path. He wants to fight all the time. He's hungry. He'll go to America tomorrow. No Limit might try and keep him here maybe because they make big money with him, but he'll go there tomorrow, mate. So, you can't knock what they're doing. Glenn Jennings, amazing effort. And the only thing is, I just don't know, because Castano's obviously rematching Charlo. So does he wait that out? They don't seem like they're in the waiting game. They want to fight regularly, but then who do you fight? Because you can't, this was a risky fight, losing number 1 spot. Who do you fight? Do you fight someone higher? I mean, I don't know. Who will he fight between now and the title?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I did read today that they've hit a bit of a roadblock there, that Charlo and Castano are intent on fighting each other. And
100%.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a spanner in the works. But look, I think I was just going to say too, I think, further to my comment before about being compared to Costa, I think the time's almost come where he's earned the right to not be compared to Costa. I know it's always going to happen, but I really see him now. He's really taken that next step and stepped out of the shadow where he is his own man now. And I think, as I said before, I think he's really started to believe in himself, that he's his own fighter now, and that really told in his performance. What did you think about the fight itself, mate? I must admit, personally, I thought it was a disappointing fight. I think Tim obviously had a lot to do with it, but I was actually disappointed that Inoue never really tried to win the fight. He pretty much tried to survive for the first battle. That's obviously credit to Tim, because that's what great fighters do. Triple G does it to everyone. So does Canelo. They just make these guys just fight their own fight. They dictate the pace. But I was disappointed that Inoue really didn't at any stage really, dig the heels in and try and win the fight.
Yeah, I mean,
easy sitting out here, by the way.
You only fight as good as your opponent lets you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but look, they all talk it up. They all talk it up before the fight. They all say this, they say that. We all thought he'd come out and come forward and go hell for leather, and the only way he was going to have a chance of winning was to try and push Tim back. And when he didn't do that, well then, he sort of showed that he was only going to survive. So, I mean, what's the point of really fighting? If you're not going to try and win the fight. I mean, but as I said, he just didn't have an answer for Tim.
Yeah.
I think the fight was disappointing. Tim showed a lot of skill, a lot of class.
I'm trying to rephrase. I don't say the fight was. Sorry, I didn't mean the fight was disappointing. I thought Inoue was not disappointing. I mean, he's a world-ranked opponent, and Tim made him look very ordinary. But I could see how he was very calculated and a bit cautious early on in the fight, because Tim, he took that centre ring and he was just going to stay there and he wasn't going to take a step back. Yeah. But I was just disappointed that Inoue at some stage the corner didn't say, "Hey mate, you're 6-7 rounds behind.
Yeah,
you got to do something." Now who knows? That might have ended it a lot earlier. I actually tipped Tim to win in about round 6, round 7. So I think if Inoue had fought the way he maybe fought Munguia, that maybe would have been the result. But as I said before, it's a credit to Tim, because great fighters make fighters like Inoue look ordinary.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, a lot of people that were disappointed there's not a knockout. I mean, you can't knock everyone out.
They're not real boxing fans, though, mate. The ones that say that aren't real boxing fans. They're just and look, you need those type of guys, because they're all the casual ones that buy the pay-per-views and go with the mates to the fight.
But most of them are TikTokers and that these days. You know what I mean?
You hate those TikTokers, don't you?
I can hate TikTokers, mate. Put them on an island with all the bloody
you said that.
All the rest of it. Anyway, the thing is, Mike Tyson at his best couldn't knock every single fighter out.
That's right.
You're going to get blowing guys out. You don't really get much from it. You might.
I agree.
You might get a reputation. You might get that bit of a feeling of, but a smart guy is going to want the rounds in the bank, because look, who he's going up against is no joke.
Yeah. Oh, I think we might have lost Tszyu there. Hopefully we'll get him back there. There he is. You're back there, mate.
Yeah. I said, knocking guys out, you don't really gain much from that. I mean, he gained a lot out of that 12 rounds because he's going up against serious guys. So he needed that. He knows he can go to distance easily.
Oh, having a few technical issues with Tszyu there. I'll just keep going there on that point of view, is that, sorry, mate, you're back there. You're just having a few lagging problems there. But, yeah, I agree. As I said before, in my talking point a bit later on, I want to really address where Tim's at now and maybe what the best option is. Obviously, the one thing I will say is that No Limit and Glenn Jennings and the whole team have done an absolutely fantastic job, because this guy, when he finally gets his chance, he's going to be 100% ready. So it's a credit to the whole team. And look, it's great to, in a perfect world, all the really good up-and-coming fighters would have a No Limit there. And I know they're starting to do a little bit more now by getting behind Australia's young up-and-comers. But to have a promotional company there that are willing to invest the dollars, bring their opponents out, and really have a roadmap to where you're going to go, it's invaluable. And I think this is what, I know we've discussed it on a few shows recently about maybe Australian boxing never being in a better position as far as opportunities go. This is a classic example, and there's probably no coincidence that all the young fighters are now going on to the No Limit roster. And I'm hoping next year that when D&L get back up and going, that they'll be the same thing. I know they've got a lot of good young fighters coming through as well. So I suppose at the end of the day, Australian boxing, like we said, has never been in a better place.
Yeah, but I'm going to, the only thing with that, Lyndon, I'm a bit of a realist, and there's been plenty of guys come into boxing and stay for a while.
Yeah.
But what about longevity? What happens when the main event guys like Tim Tszyu and Paul Gallen are gone?
Yeah, you're right.
So tell me. So you tell me then, mate. You tell me how long are these how are they gonna stay around for? I hope it's a long time. But I mean, the fact is, when Tim gets to that world title level, he'll be fighting America or even Russia regularly.
Yeah.
Gallen's probably only got a couple of fights left in him. No one else is near a main event status. Nowhere near it.
Not a pay-per-view level anyway.
No, that's what I'm talking about. And when that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. We're not talking about Fox Sports live fights where
Well, I'll keep
good
going
fighters fight. So, mate, is it in a good place? I mean, some of these young guys like Garside, and the other young guy, who's that super featherweight?
You got Liam Wilson.
Yeah, and who's the other one around that way too?
Sam Goodman.
Yeah, he's the one. So, good prospects, but they're not going to go from there to there. And so what happens when the main event guy's gone? There's no more pay-per-views.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, mate.
I'm not negative, but I'm a realist. How long does this go for? This could be over in another year.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. It's a very, very good point, and you're right. But it seems to be like every generation. And
even with DNL, there's no Horn now. I mean, as good as Hardman is, he's not selling pay-per-view. So all these guys, Fox Sports will keep going. But that's what people understand. With main event, not many come along. Mundine, Danny Green, Tim Tszyu's there now, Gallen. There's not many to do it. So I hope that these guys stay in the game to help these other guys come through, because if they don't, then it's just
you're 100% right, mate. And it seems to be like every generation. With Tim's the current one, Jeff Horn was before him, and before that, all the others that we've had. I mean, there's Fennick and Harding and Tszyu and all the rest of them. But
not that many.
Sorry.
Not that many.
And
when you
Danny
talk
Green,
about
Mundine,
how many
of course.
fighters there are, there's maybe one or two each generation who's actually a star.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, hopefully, what this does is, and you're right, Tim will probably go off to the American scene or Russian scene, whatever, but at the end of the day, his fights will still be beamed here. But you're right, the challenge becomes who's the next pay-per-view star. I'm hoping that with the No Limit and DNL model, at least, I know DNL sort of started it with the MBS last year before COVID hit. Hopefully, maybe No Limit or DNL or whatever, or they both do it parallel to each other, is they have regular Fox Sports shows, so we can actually see a lot of these guys on a regular basis, and hopefully then build them up to a pay-per-view type of fighter. But you're right,
I hope so, but I doubt it, mate. Yeah. No one's not being negative. Great fighters, awesome fighters, but no one's taking that main event spot.
No, you're 100% right. Well,
I'd pay for it.
Yep.
I'd pay for them all. I'll pay for every one of them. You would too.
Yeah.
But the general public, unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Well, that's the state of boxing, which is unfortunately the state of play. It's always been. We've got to wait for that.
In Australia, not England, not America, not Ireland, Wales, Scotland, Mexico.
We're a fickle bunch down here, aren't we?
Mate, boxing's probably, it'd be lucky to be a top board in Australia.
Yeah, you're right, and that's the classic probably highlight of that, or example of that, is the fact that we need the footy players to create the platform. We can't create the platform ourselves. So, as I said, we're going to talk a little bit more about Tim later and where we think he's at going forward. All right. So we'll resume on there, mate. So what I want to do is talk about this fella, which is Wade Ryan. How good a fight did he put on there? I mean, I was just watching highlights from the other day when he fought Emmanuel Carlos on one of my shows, a couple of years ago. And mate, you got to take your hat off to this guy. What a comeback.
Mate, he's one of my favourite fighters / personalities. He's a dinky-die, good guy, very respectful to everyone. Mate, what can I say about him? He's just a trailblazer. He's just gone on, fought every name in Australia, from Tim Tszyu to Emmanuel Carlos to Michael Zarafa to heaps. He's gone to everyone's backyard and fought them. He hasn't worried about, having losses on his record. So he's fought all these top guys and gave them hell. lost a few, won a few. Then he's resurged and now has won 4 on the trot, I think. All been awesome fights, exciting fights, but really good fights. And he's on the undercard co-main event, regular Tim Tszyu. It's a great story because he's a guy that has now changed his career now as the A side, and he's just so deserving because he was almost at that journeyman status, and
he was.
Here he is now. He's A side, and mate, and it couldn't happen to a better guy. I've never met the guy, but he seems like a really, really good guy. And just to what he's done in boxing, in fact, he fought everyone and never ducked anyone. Goes to their hometown. It's so good to see finally the sport paying back to a good guy, because sometimes good guys finish last in boxing.
They do, yep.
And this guy's getting like, I'm just over the moon for him, Lyndon. And
yeah.
I just want to say, if you're watching, mate, I haven't met you before, Wade, but I'm a big fan and supporter of yours because you're just a true Aussie legend.
Yeah, he is. And I was just going to go through a little bit his record. I mean, he's 20 wins and 9 losses at the moment, but the fact he's actually won his last 4 fights. So before that, he was 16-9. But you look at some of his losses there. He fought Tim Tszyu, Michael Zarafa, Manuel Carlos, Daniel Lewis. So he's not scared to fight any of these guys. And I think that's what's good about it now is it's really set him up to really take that next step. It's a pity he's 31. He's still got a lot of time in him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I just think he's a credit to boxing. We need these type of guys in the sport, and he deserves everything that comes his way.
Like I said, Lyndon, nice guys usually do finish last in this game.
Yep.
Isn't it great to see a good guy actually get what he deserves?
Yeah. And you look at his last couple of fights. I mean, he's fought Troy O'Malley twice, but Koen Mizuta, who obviously fought on the undercard, and I won't even try and pronounce this guy's last name, but Nath from Japan. I mean, he had some pretty good credentials and was actually talked up as, being, a pretty good fighter on the rise. The only loss was to Inoue, and Wade Ryan made him look pretty ordinary.
Yeah, no, mate, he's got good skills. He's a southpaw. He can box. He's tough. I mean, that fight with that Mizuta was awesome. I think one of the Malley fights was pretty good too. So it's exciting. He's becoming he's getting a bit of a cult following, actually. As I said, just over the moon for the guy. And hopefully, who knows what the future can hold for him,
Yeah, well, hopefully more big fights because there's a few out there. I mean, he's already fought everyone, but I just love him because he's just that honest workhorse who, no fuss. And I think afterwards he dedicated to his fight to his trainer, which is great, who lost his brother the week before. So,
well, is it safe to say on form, besides Tim Tszyu, who's at the international level, he's the best super water in the country?
Yeah, he'd be pretty close. Definitely pretty close.
On form?
Yeah, on form. He'd have to be rated right up there. I mean, I'd like to see him. I would like to have seen him fought Kamakao at some stage.
That's the fight I wanted to see.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really entertaining fight as well. But look, hopefully he goes on to bigger and better things and gets even more out of his career. He's already got a hell of a lot out of it. With and
that's another good thing for No Limits, giving a guy like this a chance too. Like like the Rose. I know the Rose boys. I know Matty Rose for a while when he promoted Mundine and Tommy Brown. And they're probably. I think they're going to get a bit of jealousy out of the rest of Australian boxing.
Yeah,
well, they already are. But mate, good on the boys. They're getting it done, and they're doing first.
All right. So just speaking of Joel Camilleri, suffered the upset loss to Koen Mizuta. I don't know. Watching the fight, how did you see it? I must admit, I thought it wasn't a bad decision. I know a lot of people said that Kamakao got robbed, but my opinion was I think Joel should have won the fight, no problem at all. But I just don't think he really got out of second gear. And I hope he didn't fall into that trap, and Peter will be able to tell us more about it next week. I hope he didn't fall into the trap of just expecting it to happen and not making it happen, because he never really he wasn't the same old Camilleri. He's in and out. He leads with a left, he leads with a right, he bowls over that right hand and throws a big left hook. He's very, very unpredictable and awkward. I just thought he looked really, really flat. What did you think?
Mate, I'll be honest with you, I actually didn't watch that fight.
Yeah.
I tuned in, I think, for the last round. Yeah, I had obviously I didn't get to watch. I think I was on the phone to my missus actually at the time.
That's okay, but
I made sure I got ready to watch Tim's. I watched Wade Ryan and then Tszyu, but I missed this one. Yeah, look, I know Kamikaze is a ripper guy. It obviously he take this one pretty hard because he was so confident, and he's done really well. Again, another guy that sort of come up and won his last few fights, and fought a lot of guys, White Ritchie and all these guys, and who and now he's won his last few fights, and I think he really expected to win this one. So look, I haven't seen it. I've seen mixed reviews, but that is boxing. You're going into to a local Sydney fighter's hometown. You got to really win it convincingly. So I can't comment because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, as I said, I know there was a look of shock horror on Joel's face at the end of it, but as I said, I read all the comments and I thought I could see. Look, either one of them could have won it. The fact that Missouri, I think it was 6 rounds to 2, I think, for him, and one of the other judges scored it 6 rounds to 2 for Kamikaze. So it shows this type of fight that it was very, very hard to score. But I don't subscribe to robberies. I never have. I think you can't be robbed in a close fight. It's as simple as that.
Well, they should just do a rematch.
I think they will. I think they will. I hope they do because it was a really good fight. But as I said, I would expect Camilleri to win it. I know not having his normal cornerman there would have definitely hurt him. But I don't think you can use that as a full excuse. I just don't think he was switched on, and he just looked flat to me. It wasn't the normal, as I said, in and out, unpredictable left and right, and throw the left, and then
we might have to talk to his manager was a bit off that night.
Yeah, maybe I reckon too. He's
losing that quiz might have sort of erupted the team, mate. Maybe
his manager's got a lot to answer for. I think we'll have to ask him.
I think we better talk to Peter, mate. Let's hope that he's got some answer for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's hope the rematch happens. I know Pete will definitely be onto that. I would think. Let's move on to the rest of the card. Dennis Hogan. Now, you obviously wouldn't have seen this one either, I'm gathering, but
no, I did see this one.
Yeah, I was a little bit. For me, it just seemed like a bit of a nothing fight. It was a 6-rounder. I don't understand. Both of them have been top line fighters. Both fought for world titles, and 6-rounder for starters. I'm not quite sure what Dennis Hogan was doing on the card. He's not a no limit fighter. They didn't really look like they'd achieved much by having him on the card. I can understand Tommy Brown. He's probably been with the boys in the past, and it was his farewell fight. I can understand that, but just the whole Dennis Hogan thing just didn't make sense to me. But he boxed well. Don't get me wrong, and hopefully he comes back bigger and better. But just for me, being just a 6-rounder, it just had a bit of a nothing feel about it, I thought.
With the undercard when it was first set, I thought it was like a super welterweight bonanza. Like everyone there to be the same weight. All these fights. Originally, it was meant to be old mate from Queensland.
Benny Mahoney. Benny Mahoney was supposed to be for Camilleri.
Mahoney was meant to fight. Then obviously Kamikaze and then Wade and these guys. Look, I don't really know. I mean, with the rounds, I guess they didn't have any. They only let obviously so many rounds to TV. I guess he had no option really. But look, hats off. Great fighter. He was around. He's actually a lot younger than me, but he was me and him have got about 4 mutual opponents, so he turned pro young. Great fighter. Fought for the featherweight title against Chris John.
Yep.
He and then ended up as a light middleweight. Over 50 fights. He's fought in America, Mexico. Really great guy. His brother was a great guy too. Rest in peace, Davey. And good family, his dad. And I'm really happy that Tommy got to go out. Not the way he wanted to, but he's just a really good guy. I'm glad that people got to give him a round of applause. Yeah. Again, another guy who gave everything to boxing. And it's good to see. It's good to see these guys who aren't mainstream guys start getting a bit of recognition.
Yeah, 100%.
It really is.
And that's what I said. Maybe the No Limit maybe has a pass with the boys, and that's why they put him on, which is great. But as I said,
they promoted him against Mundine.
Yeah. As I said, the Dennis Hogan thing was probably the thing that just didn't.
Yeah, I don't know where Dennis fits in, but look, seems like a nice guy.
Oh, he looks like a great guy.
He fought Tim Tszyu, so they
Yep.
might have a deal or something, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. All right, well, all we can say after that card, though, is to no limit. Hats off. Great show. The atmosphere looked electric on TV. All the social media posts I've seen from people that are there saying it's one of the best events I've ever been to. Got to love the entrance, by the way, for Tim Tszyu. I thought that was pretty good. But they continue to raise the bar, and it's great to have that type of promoter in Australia because we haven't had one for quite some time. Let's see a little bit of the other Aussie news going on this weekend. We've got is it the Tower of Terror? Dempsey, is that his nickname? I think I've got that right. Dempsey McKean against what's his name? Don Hainsworth. So they're waiting today. So they're on the Matchroom show over the weekend. Part of the Demetrius Andre, Jason Quickly WBO middleweight title fight card. So you've got to take your hat off to him as well for getting out of the comfort zone and aiming for the stars.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, McKean and Liam Parro both answer Carlo. He's put a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort into these guys, and it's good that that they're over there at the highest level. I mean, McKean's with Eddie Hearn. I mean, the only other boxer is Brock Jarvis, so that's huge.
Yep.
Liam Parro is sparring Shakur Stevenson and everyone else. He's fighting on the J. Paul undercard. So, well done to Angelo to get these guys to the point where they can go on now. And, they're over there on the big stage. I mean, this is exciting. McKean's a very good heavyweight. He's a big boy. I think he'll capture the imagination over there, and I think he'll do very well. He's sparring top guys. Who knows, mate? If AJ wins, he could get a shot against AJ maybe, but you got to be in it to win it. I was
just going to say that. Yeah, you've got to put yourself out there, and no matter what happens with him, I just really take my hat off to, like you said, with Angelo DiCarlo and Ace Boxing and all the rest of them, and obviously Dempsey himself, but saying, we could stay here in Australia and win the regional belt and just bide our time and maybe get a shot. But as what's been shown in the past, that's not good enough these days. You've got to put those rounds in against the good guys and put yourself out there. And if you're gonna have a decent crack at it, you've got to be prepared. So I take my hat off to the whole team for going over there and having a crack. And obviously Matchroom have seen something because they've signed him up. So so that's
funny story, mate.
Sorry, mate.
Funny story. I had a dream the other night, and Eddie Hearn was in it, and we were actually doing some business, and he was trying to recruit me. And I woke up, and I really was sad because I really thought it was real, and I was wrapped because I'm a big fan of Eddie Hearn.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
Hopefully that could be a sign. Sometimes dreams mean something, but I mean, geez, it'd be awesome to be a part of Matchroom. Yeah,
it would be. And obviously McKean following the footsteps of Brock Jarvis for going over there and having a go. So that's in, it said Manchester, I thought it was England, but it's actually in New Hampshire in the USA. So that'll be
it's in America,
DAZN on Sunday. So speaking of Ace Boxing, they've got another young up-and-comer, Liam Parro. And I love this fight. This is Yomar Alamo. Hopefully I've got that right there. But he's making his debut on December 18. Undefeated Puerto Rican, this guy, so it's going to be a very, very tough. I think he's 20-0 or 21-0 or something like that. And the fight's on the undercard of, dare we say it, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. But hey, look, if you can get that platform to get yourself out there, then do what you got to do.
Mate, what a platform. I mean, exactly right. There'll be plenty of YouTubers and TikTokers watching and a few boxing people. But look, it's an awesome show for these guys. Look, the only good thing about any of these guys that come into boxing, me and you are purists, Lyndon. We're not a fan of, but it gives the undercard guys a chance to be seen and to get paid. So hats off in that case to anyone that does come into boxing because it does give these guys a chance. It is sort of similar to Gallen out in Australia, the guys on the undercard. So, look, this is awesome. Undefeated. He's getting great sparring. Riley Ramiro, Shakur Stevenson.
Devin Haney.
Yeah, look, Liam. He's another one. He's over there. You've got to be in it to win it. And, thanks to Ange DiCarlo for everything he's done for him. It's awesome. Yeah, and Alfie DiCarlo.
Yeah. And Alfie DiCarlo, the trainer, of course, yeah. So, and this kid can fight. He's a very, very good young fighter. And like Dempsey McKean and Brock Jarvis and all these other, and Cambosis, all the rest of them, to actually get out of your comfort zone and say, we're not going to wait for hopefully land a voluntary defence against someone overseas and cross our fingers and hope for the best. We're going to actually get out there, earn our shot, and go for it. So I think it's fantastic, and hopefully you can have another 5 or 6 fights against these type of guys and earn that opportunity. So so best of luck to Liam. Saturday, December 18, and I'm assuming it's going to be on. I think it's on actually pay-per-view main event. So anyway. Jake Paul, Tommy Fury paying, I think it's $40 or $50 to watch it. I might come to your house and watch it, Tazzy, because I'm certainly not going to pay for it.
Mate, you're more than welcome anytime, Lyndon.
All right, mate. Now, speaking of big fights, 27th of November. This is the big one. George Kambosos, Teofimo Lopez. So, I think we've just dropped that out there. I'll just get rid of that. But
we're in Vegas.
Yeah, in Vegas there. But, really looking forward to this one because it's been a long time coming, but it's finally here or a week away. Yeah,
look, I'm going to be really happy when George is touching gloves in the ring to make sure that it's definitely going ahead.
Yeah.
Look, happy for him. He's, we know that we've discussed the journey, all the different cancellations, date changes, over 6 months in America, back and forth. Different venues, different dates. I mean, look, give the guy his shot. He's earned it. He's paid his dues. He's in a very tough fight against an elite superstar.
Yeah.
But let's just hope he can pull it off. And no matter what happens, to get there, he's done a great job. But let's hope he can pull it off. So, mate, hats off to George. And let's all hope we've got a new Australian world champion, undisputed world champion in another week or so.
Yeah, and I know we've spoken about it a fair bit in the past, but this is not just some sort of one of a few different world champions he's had to pick. This is the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. So this is the real deal. And I know, again, we've spoken about the lack of attention that's been given to it by Australian media or boxing media, but this is not even on main event either. Now, surely this is the type of card that should be on main event pay-per-view. I know we've had Andy Maloney's had a pay-per-view. And
Can we watch it?
It's on DAZN. It's free. What was it, $2.99 a month? It's on DAZN. So if you get the app, you can watch this live. So in the past, I think with Andy, I think Joseph Parker might have been one as well. They've actually been free of charge overseas, but they've charged from here.
So is it Australia not buying it, or what is it?
They mustn't be. The main event must. It would be interesting to get some information. I might actually contact Ben Damon and see what the go is. But I looked today and it's on not free of charge. It's $2.99 a month. It may as well be free when you're paying $3 a month. But it's next weekend. Coverage starts at 12 o'clock on Sunday.
What a joke.
Yeah, this would have been a pay-per-view event, surely. But that just goes to show that he's just not well known enough. I mean, as I said, Andy Maloney's fight with Franco, I think the second one, and I think Jason Maloney's fight with Inoue might have been on there as well, both pay-per-views. So
I think I paid for them.
Yeah, I think they were $30, but still pay-per-view.
It's pretty bad. Whatever's going on, I don't know what the goal is. If there's some friction between whoever, I don't know, mate. But I mean. Yeah, that's bullshit. I mean, I
might get some clarification off Ben Damon, I think, because he is obviously Mr. Fox Sports or main event in this country. So I might just ask him why it's not actually a pay-per-view. I don't care. I'll happily pay my $2.99 a month and get it, but it just doesn't make sense that this is probably the biggest fight since Horn Pacquiao for an Aussie. And
no doubt.
So
no doubt.
I don't necessarily agree with George. It's the biggest Australian fight of all time. I think that would probably go to Horn Pacquiao, I would think. But against
did you say the biggest what?
Sorry, mate.
What'd you say again?
I was just going to say George said that this was probably the biggest. I think it was the biggest fight of all time. Well, this would be the biggest win of all time by an Aussie. I'd probably beg to differ on that one. I think even as recently as Horn over Pacquiao would supersede this one, but still undisputed lightweight champion of the world. This is
look, it's huge. It'll be up there if he pulls it off.
Definitely, I think behind Horn
over
Pacquiao
was crazy.
Yep,
and we can't forget. I mean, even though he didn't get the decision, but Jeff Fennick against Zuma Nelson.
Yep,
was if you talk about Aussie fight and a big fight. I mean, Tszyu is a Hall of Fame, like a legend, mate. So that, and we've still got Rose Harada as well.
Yeah, you go back to those ones, but the
but if he
Aussies
pulls
going
it
over.
off, if he pulls it off, it's up there. It's got to be up there, 100%.
Yeah, no, definitely. As I said, I'd put it just behind Pacquiao and Horn. I still think Pacquiao's the biggest, the biggest and best opponent an Aussie's ever fought. But a long line of those types of fights anyway. But let's move on. I want to talk about a few other. Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
Look, it's well, definitely against a guy that was still. Oh, look, it's a tough one now. I mean, it depends who you like. I mean, look, you're a Pacquiao fan. I'm not. Never really been a Manny fan. Great fighter, respect him.
I'm a fan. I'm no more a fan of his than I am of Canelo or Mayweather or these types of guys.
Roy Jones Jr., Glenn Kelly and Danny Green fought Roy Jones. Well, Roy Jones at his best. No one touches him ever.
Probably talking about the biggest names, I suppose. Pacquiao, I mean, apart from Mayweather, is the biggest name of probably the last 50 years.
Roy Jones was massive, but...
Yeah, he was. And you're right, back then Glenn Kelly didn't get probably enough credit for fighting him either. At his best, we know Danny probably got him on the downside.
I didn't probably get him on the downside. He was on the downside.
I'm trying to be polite, Tazzy. Let's move on. All right, now I want to talk about a couple of other fights that are happening on not as big a card as the cards as the ones we've been discussing tonight, of course, but a couple of these ones. We've got Stevie Spark and River Daz on Friday, December 10 on the pay-per-view event. I think that's the Gallon card, I think.
Okay.
Now, this is an interesting one. River Daz actually fought on one of my shows about 5 years ago, I think it was. This kid can fight. Now, if they think that this guy's just being brought in just as a tune-up or a comeback for Stevie Spark, they might be really sorely mistaken, because I think I wouldn't put it past River Daz to actually beat Stevie Spark, as good as he is. But I hope they're not seeing this as just a warm-up fight for Spark, because this could blow up in the face, because Daz can fight.
Who did he fight on your show, Lyndon?
He fought Ryan Robertson was his name. He's only he's a MMA guy, but tough as nails, as you know those MMA guys are. But look, he just showed the skills. He's got a very, very long history with kickboxing, I think it is, or Muay Thai, one of those. He's
I was there that night. That was at the Melbourne
Park. Yeah,
I was there that night. Yeah.
He's had a lot of fights. Only a handful of
where's he from?
Boxing fights.
Where's he from?
He's from Hammond's Gym in Melbourne.
So where's he been lately? Well, I haven't heard of his name lately.
I think he's been more with the Muay Thai, I think. He sort of goes, like some of them do, go back and forth. I think he's only had 3 or 4 boxing fights. I think his last fight might have been against... Actually, it was only... I think it was a few weeks back that he beat Hunter Inoue, I think it was.
Oh, is that the guy? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just check that as we're talking there. But I think that was that closed shop fight, I think.
That's a big call. That's a big call. To tip him against Spark.
Yeah, I'm not tipping him. I'm just saying that if he's been brought in as a warm-up fight, they could be sorely mistaken. I'm just looking at it now. So he's had 3 wins and a draw. So he's 3-0, 1 draw. He had a draw with Shady Seward, which is pretty good form. Shady's a very, very good fighter. Hunter Ione is a very, very good fighter. You remember he dropped Jacob NG. So the kid can fight. He
dropped Yusuf Gibb as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so look,
Gibb beat him. Yeah.
I'm just saying this he can fight, so it should be a good one. I'm sure Stevie Spark will be favoured to win, and most likely will. But I just think don't underestimate River Daz if you're Brendan Smith up there in Queensland and Toowoomba. The other one I wanted to have a quick look at. It's not a big fight, but it's an interesting fight. Connor Wallace, Reynold Quinlan is on December 3. I think that is the Lucas Brown, Django Tepalou card. Reynold Quinlan, he's been in sort of nowhere. Like he's lost his last, what have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights. But you look at who he's lost to. Damien Hooper, Joshua Buatsi, who's now is from England, 15-0 with 13 knockouts, so he can obviously fight. He's lost twice to Matteo Tapia. Mark Lucas and Tej Singh. So pretty good fighters that he's lost to. The guy can
Did he
fight.
fight you? Did he fight Eubank as well?
He fought Eubank. So he won 11 of his first 12, and then including the win over Daniel Gill, of course. And then he fought Chris Eubank next, and the wheels fell off after that. But as I said, like he's fought every fighter that he's fought has been.
He dropped Hooper twice in that fight.
He did. That was an absolute war.
He dropped Hooper twice.
Yeah. He fights with Tapia.
I know both these guys, both really nice guys. I'm quite close to Quinlan, Ripper guy.
Yep.
Look, I wish he'd probably, wouldn't be taking this fight. Connor's a big, young, fresh guy.
Yep.
I think, Ren's sort of, probably seen better days, and I wish him all the best, and I hope that he goes well. But
he always comes to fight though, doesn't he? I think that's
he does, mate. Always does. Yeah, no, he's a champion, mate. Champion bloke, champion fighter. But fighting this young, tough Irish boy. I know this Irish boy. Look, it's
trained by Steve Della, of course, up there at Fortitude. So and Luke Meldon, so he can fight. But
good team. Yeah, no, look, I've seen him in person. He's a good boy.
Yeah, so I think it'll be. I just thought I'd bring it up because it's an interesting fight. I think it'll be a good test for Wallace. Depends on which Quinlan turns up. If the one that turns up that fought Hooper and Tapia and maybe a chance, but you think Connor Wallace would be too much. Just on that card, you can see here. This is actually the Saturday night card, 4th December. This is the Fox Sports card, Hardman versus Stow. I hope I got that right. I think I called him Stowe last week, but apparently it's Stow. Opatai and Broadhurst. Actually, Hardman is the main event, which surprised me. I thought Opatai and Broadhurst would be. That's the updated card there as we speak. And there's actually one fight on there that's just been added just recently that I'm pretty keen to see. This is this one, the girls. Taylor Robinson and Kylie Fulmer. They both obviously had recent losses to the undisputed queen of Aussie boxing and shotgun Shannon O'Connell. But the fact they're fighting each other, I think this is a good fight. I think I was really impressed with Taylor Robinson. I think she's got a big future. I think I said last week or the week before, she's just got to learn to be a bit more professional in the way she fights, as far as probably setting the digging her heels in a little bit and setting down on her punches. She's a little bit too amateurish, pity pat, but she's got all the tools, all the skills. I think she'll be good. Kylie Fulmer's spent a lot of time over in America. I think she spent a lot of time with Justin Fortune at Fortune's gym and Mayweather's gym as well. And she'll stop by Shannon, but I think this will actually be a good fight on the card. And again, it's good to see these young females fighting each other instead of imports.
Yeah, I think Fulmer, she's a bit of a bang. I think she's got a pretty good knockout record. Robertson, obviously, is a really good boxer, good amateur background, and obviously, gave Shannon a hard fight. Yeah, it's a good fight, mate. It's good to see him keeping active and coming off losses and going straight back in the deep end. So that's awesome. Yeah,
no, I agree. I just think, as I said, Taylor's got all the skills, and it was a little bit early. Fighting Shannon O'Connell, of course, but you got to do what you got to do. She needed fights, and and she did it. So I'm just sort of turning this off here, but I think it'll be a really good fight. So looking forward to that. As I said, it's good to see the two girls sort of get it on. So that's about it. I think that's all the Aussie news we've got at the moment. I have got one thing I've got coming up, and I forgot to talk about it at the start of the show. A little bit going on, but I've got an interview with Will Tomlinson, whose show is the 27th of November. So I got him on for a quick chat. And Will Tomlinson, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, you're back amongst it in a couple of weeks' time, November 27th, Bairnsdale. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, it's coming around pretty quick. Not this Saturday, the next. Got Wildfighter round 6.
Round 6? That's come across pretty quick, hasn't it?
Yeah, round 6. So it's down in Bairnsdale, in my old hometown where I grew up, where I began as an amateur. I've got Blake Wells and Lucas Miller as the main event, which is going to be a cracker.
And that's for the Australian title, is it?
For the AMBF Australasian light heavy title.
Yep.
And young Max Reeves is taking on UFC veteran Ross Pearson in the semi main. Also over 8 rounds at super middleweight.
And I see that as well. You got Jack Gibb on the card as well. He's a really good young prospect, isn't he?
Yeah, correct. So Jack Gibb, he's fighting a tough nut from New South Wales, Nick Zipolides.
Yep.
Got a lot of experience, so hopefully gives Jack some good rounds. Got Luke Gersbeck fighting a local boy from down here in Sale. Pom Nathaniel, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his surname.
Yep.
Fighting young Isaac Hanley, which is a fight that's been in the making for quite some time. A few promoters have had it, and it's kind of fallen over a few times, due to lockdowns and whatnot. So they're fighting, and I feel like there might be one else.
Luke Gersbeck, is it?
No, yeah. So Luke's fighting the kid from Sale.
Oh, sorry, you said that. Yep. So there's five fights listed anyway. So
yeah, so there's 5 pro fights, and I've got a few corporates. Some of the guys from my gym down in Geelong are fighting against my old trainer and my old gym, Paul Carroll. His gym, where do a little Gym Wars challenge again. So it'll be Gym Wars 2, which is always a nice little addition I like to have on my cards just to get the night started. Some general punters going at it, which is gets the crowd going.
So tell us about the shows in the country, mate. The reason I ask, because I've obviously promotions as well. I've done it in my hometown of Bendigo, and we've done it also in Warrnambool. Tell us about the whole doing in the country versus doing in the city.
Well, I didn't really have a choice for this show because of all the COVID regulations at the time when I made the call to go back to Benzel. Although I probably would have gone to Benzel anyway because I had a show back here in 2019. Yeah, it was a very successful night. So I was planning to come back here, but I had no other choice given the lockdowns and restrictions with Metro Melbourne. So currently, so when I made the call, you weren't actually allowed to have boxing events or events in Melbourne with a crowd. I think you're allowed to have maybe 150 people at the time when I made the call. But in regional Victoria, you're allowed to have outdoor seated events up to 5,000 people. So I've gone and hired a 2,000 square meter circus marquee, which is 45 by 45 meters with 17 meter high ceilings. It's like a massive tent. I'm doing it on a footy oval out the front of the Lucknow Club. Yeah. So I'm planning it directly out the front of their club room. So the fighters will use the footy club rooms as their changing rooms, and all the toilets and stuff will be there. And then they'll walk directly out onto the oval, which I'll set the tent back maybe 5 or 10 meters from the boundary line, and it pretty much goes. I stepped it out the other day. It pretty much goes from 5 meters from the boundary line all the way to the cricket pitch in the middle. So it's huge.
Yeah, so tell us about the whole getting a show together in the COVID world. Because obviously in Victoria, there's been barely anything in the last 18 months to 2 years. So tell us about how hard it's been, one, to get the show together, but also the restrictions and the requirements and the hoops you're supposed to jump through to put a show on.
Yeah, it's definitely been an effort. All the COVID regulations and council permits and stuff that you have to have in place around the COVID situation is obviously extra work. But I'm lucky I've got a very smart girl that works for me, Nat, that's taking care of the majority of that. But the hardest thing about this whole event has been the matchmaking, putting the cards together, just because of the lack of available boxes at the moment. And that's because I've been getting a range of reasonings behind gyms have been closed, so no one's been training, border closures, so we've only been able to pick fighters from Victoria, New South Wales, fighters refusing to be vaccinated.
I've heard vaccinated, do they, to fight? Double vaccinated?
You have to be double vaxxed to fight, have to be double vaxxed to be in the corner, attend the event, pretty much live life. So like everything else, like every authorized worker out there, to do your job you have to be double vaxxed, and there's no difference with boxing.
Yeah. So
it's been an effort, mate, to say the least.
I can imagine. So on the night, do they have the COVID police there? How does it work? Do they have people there that are policing all this stuff?
I'm not sure. The local police they're going to be there, and they'll do whatever they're going to do. I think they'll be probably more concentrating on responsible
Crowd.
serving of alcohol and all the other bits and pieces that they have to look out for. But we have guidelines that the government set that we have to follow, like QR coding and checking in and checking everyone's vaccine passports before they come into the event.
You've got to check everyone.
So more jobs, more jobs.
So is that right? You've got to actually check everyone's passport as they go in, or their certificate.
Yeah, so it's essentially like citing a driver's license when somebody comes into a nightclub or a licensed venue, which is a bit of fun.
I bet it will. And how many people you got there? What, 1,000 people or so you're expecting? 2,000?
Should end up with about 1,500, I reckon.
And you got to check 1,500 people.
Yeah. So I've got to. I have a pretty efficient, lineup of ticket marshals and stuff to make sure it's a smooth, efficient process and get everyone in.
Yeah. So just on the show itself, mate, just as we're talking, I'm going to put a few highlights of a couple of your shows up there. You've, like you said, this is number 6, and thanks to, credit to Mickey Caparelli. I hope I've pronounced that right. Who does an awesome job with the video and photography. Just with the innovation you've brought into the promotion game, Will, I know as you said, it was only your 6th show, but tell us a little about what you've got planned. I see you've got the TV set and a few other things you're going to bring to the table.
Yeah, I'm just going hard to try and build Wildfighter into as big as it can be. I've done it, experienced it myself as a fighter, and got to fight on the biggest shows in Australia and some big events around the world, obviously in America, fought in Vegas and Texas on all the big TV networks over there. And I've seen what they've done. I've seen what can be done, and that's what I want to try and create with Wildfighter as a promotion business, and give that opportunity to my fighters that I work with. I look at all the shows that Dean Lonigan and Matt Rose are putting on, and that's where I want to eventually get to one day.
Yeah, well, it's a great concept, mate. Actually coming up with the Wildfighter brand. I mean, you see a lot of promoters have the name and the companies or whatever, but they actually have the Wildfighter brand, because not only have your promotional company, you've also got the gym in Geelong as well.
Yeah, so I want Wildfighter to develop into an all-round boxing business with gyms, promotions, equipment, apparel. That's what I'm. That's the direction I want it to hopefully get to. So, just keep working hard and making good moves, and hopefully it gets there.
Yeah. So I know it's probably a little bit early for next year, mate, for 2022. But once you get over this one, what's the plans for next year?
So I've got Geelong Arena booked again for March the 11th and March the 12th. So I'm doing 2 back-to-back shows on the 11th and 12th. On the 12th is the Saturday night, we're doing a boxing show. And in 2021, 2022, Wildfighter is also going to be dabbling into mixed martial arts promotions as well.
Wow.
So I'm looking at doing an MMA event on the Friday night and then boxing on the Saturday night, both at the arena.
Geez, it must be the trend at the moment, mate, because even this month we've got 2 double headers, one in Newcastle, one in Queensland. So is it easy to do a double header with everything set up? Does it lower the cost at all, or it's just something?
I'm in the negotiation process at the moment of with the venue to try and work out how that's going to look. Theoretically, there should probably be some kind of discount on the first or the second night, because you're splitting the cost across the two nights. But I see MMA as an opportunity to speak to a different crowd and attract new faces and get more exposure for the brand. And I'm going to give it a go, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, sounds awesome, mate. So just, you said before, obviously we all know your history as a boxer with all the big fights all around Australia and the world. Into the promotional side of things, mate, what's harder, promoter or professional fighter?
So I always say to people about boxing, promoting, retirement, it was easier 10 times easier fighting for a living than having to work for a living as a boxing promoter. Give me a 12-round punch on any day of the week over, putting together, a boxing promotion. It's like you're fighting. If you have 8 different fights if you got 8 fights on your card, it's like you have to fight 8 separate fights. But it's very rewarding. It's the closest kick I get to what I used to get from fighting and winning to what I can get now as not being a fighter. So
I will say one thing, mate, and I'm sure you'll agree that I've done 20-odd shows myself, but it looks pretty glamorous when you watch the big fights on TV, doesn't it? And you see all the bright lights and the fighters and the crowd and all the backslap and all the rest of it. But it's a little bit different when you're actually in the deep end trying to put it together, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But even like when you're looking at those big shows in Vegas and even the shows that we see here in Australia, it's still not 100% smooth sailing for them. They still have hiccups. They still have fighters pulling out and fighters missing weight and refusing to get vaccinated now and all the headaches that come with being a promoter. There's definitely you can be attacked from all sorts of angles, and just because you're putting on the big shows doesn't necessarily rule you out from those attacks.
I suppose they've got an army or a whole team of staff that take care of all that sort of stuff, don't they? Matchmakers and all the rest of it.
More manpower, generally bigger budget, bigger pool of fighters to work with. That's like the beauty of America. Obviously, you've just got so many fighters to choose from, and add Mexico into that as well. Like you can just pick and choose, and avoid a lot of the dramas that come from the lack of fighters here in Australia.
Wait, one last thing. Speaking of Australia, how do you see the current landscape in Australian boxing at the moment as far as our talent goes? And we discussed it on our show last week about we don't think Australians have ever had more opportunity with what No Limit are doing and DNL are doing, even what Tasman Fighters are doing and yourself. There's so much opportunity now, and obviously you see Brock Jarvis with Matchroom as well, and Dempsey McKean with them now. So do you agree that there's never been more? I know you went over there as part to give the American scene a go, but do you think there's never been more opportunity for Australian boxers to get their crack at it these days?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of local boxing promoters having a crack in Australia, but also probably
compared to fighters. I mean,
I think so. Yeah, there's definitely if you're looking at a ratio, it's definitely a bit of an imbalance. But there's with all these a lot of the opportunities for boxers is coming from not necessarily the extra all the promoters, but all these new TV networks and streaming services that are trying to make some noise. So that they obviously need content, so they're giving out deals to promoters, and that's what's driving the market.
Seems like it. Well, mate, hopefully you get your crack at it. There seems to be so much going on in Australian boxing. Really like what you're doing with the innovation with the shows. I think it's great. I think pretty excited to see what you're going to offer with the MMA side of things as well. I think it's a really good idea with the brand. So, mate, all the best with Wildfighter and going forward, and really appreciate you being on the show. And obviously, best of luck with your show on the 27th.
Thanks, mate. You try and make it down, and we'll see you down there. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, mate. Catch up with you then.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So there it is. That was Will Tomlinson. Has a show next Saturday night at the I can't pronounce the name of it. It's in Bairnsdale Football Oval. So best of luck to down there. It's pretty interesting. They're going to go into MMA as well, which is interesting, Tazzy.
Yeah, look, mate. As I said, it's good to see a fellow fighter like Will, doing the promotions, and he gives 110%. He puts on a first-class promotion. He's very passionate about it. He puts everything into it. So, being a fellow promoter and ex-fighter, hats off to him. You know what I mean? So, Lyndon, mate, MMA. Look, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. If there's an audience for it, give it to them. So, I mean, by all means, I'd promote two chickens fighting if I could. So, the thing is, if there's a market for it, which I'm sure there is, good on him. But I mean, it's good to see he's doing a show out of COVID. I know this one wasn't easy to match. He called me a couple of times, and it was hard to find opponents given there's still restrictions in Queensland and places, and all the other shows in Melbourne are starting to get ready now too. So it's good that he's that's coming ahead, mate. And mate, hats off to anyone that throws their hat in the ring and has a crack.
No, I agree, mate. There's a few more shows in Melbourne before the end of the year as well, which is good. So let's we'll speed it up a little bit and get into some of the world news, mate. Just a couple of things. One is a fight that happened last weekend. Another one's happening this weekend. The first one is the Munguia-Rosado fight. So I'm not sure whether you've seen it, but geez, it was a war.
Saw highlights of it. Yeah, I mean, Rosado done a good job to get his career back on track. He was looking like a journeyman there for a while, but he had a couple of big wins, a big knockout win his last fight. And Munguia, look, I mean, he looked good. He seemed patient. He showed decent defense. He, he's a bit of a hit and miss, Munguia. Like, you don't know which one turns up. I mean, having hard fights with guys like Dennis Hogan and the Jap guy, I mean, really doesn't speak to me to be a superstar. But he can fight, and he showed some good skills. So him and Triple G would be a good fight if Triple G beats the Jap. So
yeah, no, it will be. And just watching it, I think it was a bit rich of Rosado afterwards actually think he won it, because I don't think he got anywhere near it. But I think it was probably 7 rounds to 3 or something. But geez, he's a tough boy, and I really like Munguia. He's that the work rate is really high with him, so I think that'll hold him in good stead. I'm just not sure whether he might have the power to take up to middleweight to fight those bigger guys. But it'd be interesting to see now that he's fought Rosado, who's probably a bit of the gatekeeper at middleweight, to see what happens when he starts taking on some of these better guys.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, look, I mean, he's still only young, but I could see a few glimpses, like a few little things he was trying to do that Canelo does too. Like but I mean, look, he's a good fighter. He's a bit of a name being a Mexican, and I think he's only going to get better with time. Like, he's quite young, so yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on to the big one this weekend, and that is Terence Crawford, Sean Porter. Really looking forward to this one. This is one of the specials they've done on one of the channels with these two, but really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think Porter will do a lot better than what he thinks. I obviously think Crawford will get the win, but I really think Porter will take it up to him.
Yeah, look, Porter's never in a dull fight. He's giving Thurman, all he can handle. He beat Garcia. He gave Spence all he could handle. Mate, look, he's a great fighter. Terence Crawford is special. He's one of the special ones in boxing. I'm happy to see him fighting again because, due to all the fighters on PBC with Al Heyman and not many with Top Rank, he's missed out on opportunities. So it's good to see them getting it together. Crawford is, as I said, number 2 pound for pound easily. He's awesome. So, great fight. I met Porter at Wildcard. He's an absolute gentleman, him and his dad. Great guys. I think Crawford wins. I think, Porter will have his moments. I think Crawford just that next level up. And I like to see Crawford switch over to PBC with Heyman and take on everyone else, whether it's Spence, if he's okay, injury-free, if it's Garcia still, if it's Thurman. I haven't heard his name for ages, but that's where they all are. They're over there.
I think it'll happen because I think we said the other day that it looks like this is his last fight with Top Rank, and Bob Arum always whinges about how much always loses on him. So I think you'll find that. I think it'd be a bad career move if he didn't, to be honest, go to PBC. But hopefully he does. I see the fight. I think Porter will take it up to him. He'll make life really hard for him. He'll crack in. But I don't think he's going to win many rounds. I think it's just going to be one of those fights where it's going to be a tough, hard fight. But yeah,
it's going to be good to see. Does Crawford beat Porter better than any man ever has?
Yeah.
Well,
this is opportunity, isn't it, to really really make a statement about where he is and where he's going. So we've just got one. Sorry, before we move on, mate, how do you actually see the fight going? You obviously think Crawford's going to win?
I think Crawford's going to win on points. I think, like, Porter will have his moments, but I think it's a clear... I think he's going to beat Porter better than anyone else, which isn't much because no one's really beating convincingly. Like, they're beating him, but not.
Yeah.
So I think Crawford's going to do it that much better than Spence and Thurman did.
All right, well, let's move on to our last segment, and we'll make it a quick one tonight. It is, of course, my talking point. We're going to give you the night off as far as your tirade goes, mate. Because I reckon you should be pretty happy this week with Tim Tszyu winning. So we're going to give you the week off, and we'll just go to the talking point because this one's actually is about as we lose Taszyu. I'm sure he'll dial back in a second there, but this is about Tim Tszyu, and we'll go to that talking point now. So I'm sure Taszyu will be back on a sec. But the point is, Tim Tszyu should have a fight in the USA before aiming for a world title fight. Now, I'm going to bring Taszyu back in here, who's, let's have a look. Let's get him in. We got you back there, mate?
I'm here, mate. I'm here.
All right. Okay, well, it's just saying the talking point. You might have missed it. A little bit what we spoke about before. Just a quick one. Tim Tszyu should have a fight in the USA before aiming for a world title fight. Now, I say what I'm saying here is that it's not that I don't think he's ready. I really think he is ready to fight these guys. Probably the point I'm making is probably out of the Brock Jarvis playbook a little bit to say, well, do we really want to jump straight in without actually having been in the big scene over there? Do we maybe want to take a fight if Castano does fight Charlo, maybe fight on the undercard against a durable opponent and be exposed a little bit to the public over there and just get a taste of what it is to be on the big stage?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I mean...
It's risky, I know, but does it make more sense? They haven't been scared to take a risk with his career so far. Does this any different to that? I'll answer myself there because Tazzie's gone again. I'm sure we're back. You back there, Tazzie? Have I lost you there?
Yeah.
You got me there? I'm not sure whether you heard what I said, mate, there, but go ahead.
Yeah, so what is it about Tim?
About Tim going over there. So what I was saying is I know it's risky, and I know, but so far they haven't been scared to take risks with Tim. So it's a matter of going over there, fighting on the Castano, Charlo undercard, if that's what comes about. Fight a Tony Harrison or maybe not someone as dangerous as him, but someone along those lines, and just get exposed to the public over there and just get a feel for what it is like on the big stage in the States.
Yeah, look, the thing is, if it's going to be awkward. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because the trouble is it's a spanner in the works. These guys rematching, so Tim really should just get the fight with Castano, and that's it. But unfortunately, they're going to rematch, and it was a close fight. I mean, I had Castano winning, but it was very close.
I did too, yeah.
And the thing is, they've got a right to rematch, obviously. But yeah, look, I don't know who you're gonna fight. I mean, we just beat this guy who's ranked number 7. They're not worried about risk, but you still got to be a bit. I mean, Harrison stylistically.
Yeah, I don't think probably to
Tim
fight
beats
Harrison.
him, but Tim beats him, but it's a tough fight, especially in America. What other guys are there? I mean, Liam Smith maybe.
Yeah, I'm probably not looking at those really top guys. It's probably more so. Look, they've probably got a couple of options. They could say, all right, well, we've got the winning formula in Australia. We've got everything we need here. We've got the platform here, all the tools we need. Let's just put him on here and do another big event and get a Inoue type of fighter. Or they could go to maybe use the opportunity if those two fight and say, we want to be on the undercard. As I said, it exposes him to the US public in prime time. On a big show, and maybe just get a journeyman who's going to give him some good rounds, but make him look good, and just give him because the last thing he wants to do is sit on the shelf for another 6, 7, 8 months.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, and they're not about sitting on the shelf. Tim Tszyu and Glenn, and Igor and the team, that they want to fight all the time. So, mate, look, I would like to see him if that was doable on the undercard of that fight against a good seasoned opponent, but we don't.
Not top 10, maybe top 20, but not top 10.
Tim's going to beat them all, but the thing is, that, let's not be risk again. And I think that'd be good. It would give him exposure. Then he can get in the ring and challenge Castana or Charlo, whoever wins. So I think that'd be good, because doing another show here, even though obviously they make good money, but I don't know who they'd bring down. It'd be a really tough one to get someone to that level again.
Yeah. And the thing is, especially with the pay-per-view, I know they make a hell of a lot of money out of that. But at the end of the day, if it was Castano and Charlo and Tszyu fought on the undercard and they sold it back to Australia, they'd sell an absolute bucket load of pay-per-views as well. So I think they'd probably get a fair bit of the coin back. But yeah, it just depends. Either way, I don't think it matters. I think you're right. He wants to keep busy, so no doubt there'll be. If he doesn't get the Castano fight next, there will be a fight in between. But it's just a matter of who and where. But I would love to see him, as I said, fight a top 20 super welterweight in the States on the undercard, and just be introduced to the public a little bit more over there.
I think that's a no-brainer. I think that's a great idea.
And it's not that he's not ready. That wasn't the point of the question. It's the fact that if you don't get that fight next, do you take the opportunity of just getting that experience? I think it would be...
If the opportunity's there, I reckon that's a good idea. I mean, he wants to fight in America ASAP. So, unfortunately, this rematch is happening, so he has to wait a bit longer.
Yeah.
But why not? If they can do it, and I'm sure they...
Yep, sure they can, yep. So we've lost Tassie again there. We might actually end it there. We'll go back to our initial screen there. It's been a bit of a touchy night with the internet, unfortunately, with the weather. But for those that are tuning in to watch it, thanks very much for joining. On behalf of Tassie, I'll say goodbye. Hopefully we'll see you there. He's gone and he's had enough. We'll have Pete back next week. All the normal segments. We'll cut this while we can, and hopefully see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.